A lot of people may be taking Colorado State for granted and really lightly this weekend, but there's one group of people that are not taking this game lightly. You guessed it, Coach Prime's Colorado Buffaloes. There is a huge warning all over this game, and Deion Sanders has told his team all about it. He's made sure that they're aware, he's made sure that they're prepped, and he's made sure that they're ready to go. And we're going to explain all of that in today's episode. The eyes of the nation are fixed on Boulder and the Colorado Buffaloes as they dismantled the Nebraska Cornhuskers in their home debut. After taking Nebraska to the woodshed in a 36-14 rout, Deion Sanders has this program firmly in the national spotlight, with College game day and big noon kickoff coming to their city. The media hype train is churning at full speed ahead as Colorado renews their rivalry with Colorado State in the first Rocky Mountain Showdown since the 2019 season. Now listen, I know there are a lot of new Buffs fans out there. I know there are a lot of new Coach Prime fans out there. But if you are an original, if you remember this Rocky Mountain Showdown between Colorado and Colorado State, if you're an OG, let me know down in the comments if you remember it, because this is going to be a fun one. The Rams had a bye this last week, and they lost their Week 1 matchup against Washington State in blowout fashion. In fact, they lost 50-24. Now, they had a bye week to look back on what went wrong and try to make some corrections. The Rams should be motivated because nobody believes in them at this point, but they should be motivated to notch their first win of the season against the in-state rival Buffs. With just one game under their belt, what should we make of Colorado State's strengths and weaknesses? Are the Rams up to the task of pulling the primetime upset against Coach Prime? Let's take a closer look and see if they can possibly find a way to do it. All right, first up, Colorado State's strengths. Going off their one contest against Washington State, here's what we can say about Colorado State. They registered 357 yards of production on average, which is good for 90th in the country after 2 weeks of games. 320 of those 357 yards were passing yards, which is good for 15th best in the nation. The Buffaloes ranked 54th in the nation on defense against the pass, and Colorado State averages 7.2 yards per pass in the games. After benching their starting quarterback in favor of Fowler Nicolasi, the Rams went on to put up 2 touchdowns against the Cougars, which proved to provide a little bit of an offensive spark that could yield some results in a shootout game on Saturday night. On the defensive side of the ball, Colorado State boasts the 37th ranked defense against the rush. They only allow 90 yards per game on the ground. If Coach Prime's squad has one potential hole or area of improvement so far, it is rushing production. They've only produced 56.5 yards per game on the ground. They have the 10th worst rushing offense in the country, and though it's early, that does need to be an area that improves. They also aren't the best defensively against the rush. They've allowed 242 rushing yards per game, which is good for 8th worst in the nation. Now, I want to tell you about the weaknesses on Colorado State's side as well, but first I want to give some love to our friends over at Prize Picks. Listen, I've told you guys about them every week so far now. Hopefully you've made some money with us over on the Prize Picks app. You can deposit today using code BUFFS, B-U-F-F-S, and you can get a 100% match up to $100. Shador's passing more or less is well over 300 this week. I'm still riding with the more. Travis Hunter, Xavier Weaver, Jimmy Horn Jr. all have totals up in the 70s and 80s. I like more for all of them. I think that they are going to go off this weekend. Give me Xavier Weaver, who is certainly undervalued. Everybody pays all attention to Hunter. Everybody pays attention to Horn, but Weaver is so good that it is not even funny. Go get in on the action on the Prize Picks app with us this weekend and make sure that you're making that money with us here at the prime time for college football. Okay, we talked a little bit about their strengths, but when we talk about weaknesses for Colorado State, there are a lot. And the Rams have a ton of deficiencies on both sides of the ball, which should work to Colorado's advantage. The rushing offense ranks 3rd worst in the nation, and it only averages 37 yards per game, which is good for 1.9 yards per rush. on their 20 attempts. The Rams defense is averaging 5th worst in the nation, and they're allowing 556 yards total per game. The pass defense specifically is, trying to be nice here, putrid. Coming in at 3rd worst in the country, they allowed 466 passing yards in their opening matchup against Washington State. That was good for 9.3 yards per pass attempt at 30 of 58 passing completions for Washington State. The Buffaloes, for context, rank 2nd best offensively passing the ball in the country. Through 2 games, they're putting up 453 yards in passing alone. Offensively, the Buffaloes in general rank 14th best in the country, and they're totaling a little over 500 yards per game on average. The defensive woes don't stop there for the Rams. They also have the 5th worst 3rd down conversion rate, allowing teams to convert 64.7% on all 3rd down conversions this year. Meanwhile, Coach Prime's squad ranks 15th best in the nation. They're converting their 3rd down situations at about 56.2% so far on the young season. This is a dream matchup for Colorado in this game. And you've got to take every opponent seriously, and you can't take teams lightly ever. I get that. But without being too negative about Colorado State or without just trying to completely bash them, there's a reason that Colorado is favored by 3 scores here. And there's a reason why you've seen so many parallels here in our strengths and weaknesses. Essentially, everything that Colorado does well, Colorado State has a hard time matching up with. And everything that Colorado State does well, the Buffs probably have an answer for. Now, there are some ways that Colorado State could certainly make this a closer game. And if Colorado doesn't come out and play with the right mindset and play super focused and allows their opponent to stay in a game that they shouldn't be in, you could certainly have a situation where you're in a close game late in the 4th quarter. And I know this is not what anyone wants, but I think that Colorado could probably play like a C-plus game and still probably win this going away. That's how much of a talent gap there is. That's how much of a skill gap there is. But none of us want to see a C-plus game. None of us want to see this thing closer than it should be. We want to see an A game. We want to see Colorado come out and put their foot on the other opponent's throat and glide to an easy victory. It's never easy. It's never just a walk in the park. But if Colorado comes out and plays their game like they have in, the TCU game on offense and the Nebraska game on defense, and then certainly the second half of that Nebraska game as well, they are going to pick up a big win. And it's going to be a rivalry win with some massive recruits in attendance that we talked to you in yesterday's video about. And they're going to continue to push themselves farther and further and further up the polls. 10 p.m. Eastern kickoff for Colorado this week. That's new. It's a new challenge. Instead of that noon kickoff where they've been accustomed to playing, we are going to see what they play like at night. And so the nation will be watching. The nation will have watched college football all day. And then they'll get to see Colorado versus Colorado State that evening. And it's a massive opportunity. We've talked about how the ratings for Colorado have been better than just about anybody else in the country so far to start this young year. We've talked about how recruits are starting to notice. And this is a situation where you cannot go out and have a letdown. You've done what you were supposed to do, and you've done what many thought you had no chance of doing in week 1 and week 2 against TCU and Nebraska. And now is the time where everyone's picking you. And now is the time where you're a 3-touchdown favorite. And now is the time where you're supposed to go out and do the dominating. But will you do it? Will you go out there and make a massive, massive statement that week 1 and week 2 were not flukes? Week 1 and week 2 were not anything to do with Jeff Sims turnovers or TCU being unprepared or anything else. You go out and you win this game going away. You have the right mindset. You treat it like a business trip, though it's home. You treat it like a business meeting, and you go out and you take care of business. And you relax and you party in the second half while the backups are in and while you're sitting on the sideline refilling up on Gatorade. That's what this weekend needs to be. I think Coach Prime has the team prepared. I think they're ready. I think that the talent gap and the gulf between the two teams this weekend is going to be way more than Colorado State is prepared for. I like Shedeur to go off again. I like the defense to continue to improve. I like Colorado's offensive line to gel a little bit more. This is a situation where they're going to have the better trenches. Obviously, they have the better skill positions in just about every game they play, but they are better than Colorado State at every single angle. This is a David versus Goliath matchup, and Colorado needs to just go take care of business and not let the little guy come in and ruin the fun. I like the Buffs to win this going away. I think they win by, honestly, about 28. Give me something like 41-13. I think they really take care of business here. Colorado State scores a couple, but this one is not close. 41-13, final score. Write it down, book it. We've been pretty close to accurate on our first couple, so I'll take it. We won't gloat too much. We won't take a victory lap until Sunday morning when we get on here and recap it. So thank you guys, as always, for being tuned in. We talked about that recruit. Massive 4-star, high 4-star. He's in 5-star range recruit that's coming to Boulder this weekend. The guy that Alabama and Oklahoma and Florida State and others are all over. If you want to know more about that recruit, you can click this video right here to watch it.